People come and go. Bonds form, then loosen, sometimes break. The harder we grip, the more it can hurt. So how do you stop overcaring without becoming cold? Marcus Aurelius points us inward. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Today, 5 Stoic rules to detach with dignity so you keep your peace, your clarity, and your compassion. Stay to the end for a one-sentence mantra you can use the next time your emotions surge. Stoicism doesn't kill feeling, it governs it. The Stoic inner citadel is your calm center, your breath, your posture, and your perspective, where no rumor, delay, or goodbye can dethrone your judgment. Each rule follows one simple sequence: name the story, return to the body, choose a virtuous action. Rule 1, embrace impermanence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Behind those words lies a quiet thunder. The world is always in motion. Nothing stands still. Friendships, romances, careers, even our own bodies. And yet most of our suffering comes from pretending they will. We fall into what I call the trap of permanence. Clinging is often fear disguised as love. When we demand that something lasts forever, we end up suffering twice, once from the change itself, and again from the illusion that it should never have changed at all. I learned this lesson the hard way. I once had a friendship that lasted nearly a decade. We knew each other's secrets, we celebrated victories, and we helped each other survive heartbreaks. Over time, though, life began pulling us in different directions. Instead of accepting the drift, I tried to hold tighter, more texts, longer calls, heavier expectations. But the tighter I gripped, the quicker the friendship seemed to dissolve. It was only when I accepted that the chapter had ended, when I respected both of our new paths, that I finally felt the weight lift. That friendship wasn't a failure. It was simply a completed season. The Stoics remind us of this constantly. Life, they say, is a river. You cannot step into the same water twice. Marcus put it bluntly. Time is a river, a violent torrent. All that is swept away. Seneca warned, we are always complaining that our days are few, but acting as though there will be no end. Their message is simple. Impermanence is not the enemy. It is the condition of everything. To embrace it is not to love less, but to love more wisely. To value moments as they are without chaining them to fantasies of forever. Think of it like holding a handful of sand at the beach. If you hold it gently, it rests easily in your palm. But if you squeeze tightly, trying not to lose a single grain, it slips through your fingers even faster. This is the natural law of relationships. When we cling, we kill the very thing we are afraid to lose. So how do we practice this truth in daily life? Here's a simple 5-minute ritual. First, a reality check. Write this sentence down. This may end. I will still be whole. Let that truth soften your grip. Second, spend 2 minutes in what I call present savor. Write down 3 things you genuinely appreciate about a person today: their humor, their kindness, the way they supported you last week. Focus on now, not forever. Third, if it feels right, send one short note of appreciation. Nothing elaborate, nothing that sounds like a contract or a plea. Just thank you for being part of my life. And finally, if the relationship has shifted, use a gentle boundary script. I value what we shared. I'm giving it space to be what it is now. It's a way to honor the past without suffocating the present. The power of this practice isn't just philosophical, it's measurable. Psychologists have found that practicing acceptance reduces stress markers by up to 30% in people dealing with change or loss. Gratitude journaling for only 2 weeks has been shown to increase overall well-being by 10 to 15%. In other words, naming impermanence and appreciating the present actually rewires your nervous system toward calm. You've seen this transformation firsthand. One of my coaching clients went through a breakup after 7 years. She was devastated. Every day she checked his social media, replayed conversations in her head, and asked herself where she had gone wrong. Together we worked on the present savor exercise. Instead of reliving the loss, she wrote 3 things she was grateful for each day: memories they shared, lessons she had learned, ways she had grown. At first, the writing brought her to tears, but within a month, the tears gave way to quiet smiles of recognition. She realized the relationship had given her treasures, not just wounds. By embracing impermanence, she discovered she wasn't broken. She was complete. This is the heart of the lesson. Impermanence is not a threat. It is the teacher that reminds us to savor now. The Stoics would tell us not to curse endings because without endings, beginnings have no meaning. Without change, there is no growth. When you embrace impermanence, you stop demanding forever and you start respecting today. So here is your practice metric for the week. Do 2 present savor lists. Each time, write down 3 things you appreciate about someone in your life, a friend, a partner, a parent, or a colleague. Notice how your grasping softens. Notice how gratitude slowly replaces fear. Rule 1 is clear endings are natural and change is inevitable. The question is not how to stop it, but how to walk with it. And that leads us directly into Rule 2, how to master the storms that rise in the meantime. Because if impermanence is certain, then so are the waves of emotion and conflict it brings. Rule 2 will show us how to separate fact from story and reason from reaction, so that even in chaos you remain anchored. Rule 2, master emotions through reason. Have you ever felt your stomach twist because of a single unread message? Hours pass and the silence becomes heavier than words. By the time the reply finally comes, you've already written 10 stories in your head, none of them kind. That is the trap of unchecked emotions. Marcus Aurelius warned us the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoic insight is clear: emotions themselves don't stab us, our judgments do. A delayed reply is just a timestamp. But when we add a story, they don't care I'm not important. They're angry, a neutral event suddenly becomes a storm. Stoicism doesn't deny feelings. It disciplines them through reason. I remember once sending a heartfelt message to someone I deeply cared about. 10 minutes passed, an hour, half a day. My emotions rose like a flood, first concern, then frustration, finally anger. Why are they ignoring me, I thought. But the truth was simple. They were in a meeting phone on silent. When we finally spoke, they were cheerful, completely unaware of the hurricane I had built in my head. That day I realized my suffering wasn't caused by them. It was caused by me. The Stoics give us a drill for moments like this. Fact, story, virtue. First, label the story. I'm telling myself they don't care. Then name the fact. The observable data is simply no reply yet. Finally, choose the virtue. The move now is patience, not panic. This takes less than 30 seconds, but it changes everything. Neuroscience backs it up. Labeling emotions reduces activity in the amygdala by up to 40%. In plain language, naming the storm calms the storm. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reappraisal. The Stoics mastered it centuries ago. Marcus said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Think about it. 100 people see the same events. A stranger frowning. Some feel attacked, others indifferent, a few even curious. The event doesn't dictate the reaction. Interpretation does. By reclaiming the gap between stimulus and response, you reclaim your peace. So let's put this into practice today. Write down one recent trigger, maybe someone's silence, a harsh tone, or a canceled plan. Break it apart. The fact, what's observable, they haven't replied in 3 hours. The story, they don't respect me. The virtue, wisdom, or temperance would choose patience here. Then act on the virtue, not the story. Set yourself a challenge this week. Log 5 reframes. Each time you feel a surge of emotion, pause and run the Stoic drill. Research suggests that people who practice reframing reduce emotional reactivity by 25 to 30% in just 1 month. Imagine what that could mean for your peace of mind. I'll give you one more real-life example. A friend of mine struggled at work because his manager often delayed responses to his proposals. He convinced himself, she hates my work. Stress kept him awake at night. When I taught him the Stoic drill, he began to separate facts from stories. Facts, she hasn't replied. Story, she thinks him incompetent. Virtuous action, patience, and preparation. He used the silence to polish his proposal. A week later, the manager approved it enthusiastically. His storm had been unnecessary. And when emotions rise because of someone else's words, you can still set a calm boundary. Try this line: I want to understand, but it'll respond when the conversation is constructive. That sentence shifts control back to you. It's choosing clarity over chaos. So here's your takeaway for today. Facts are few, stories are many. Choose few. Your practice log 5 emotional triggers this week, separate fact from story, and respond with virtue. By the end, you'll notice the peaks and valleys of your moods begin to flatten steady as the Stoic citadel. And here's the bridge: once you've learned to master emotional storms through reason, you're ready for the next exercise. It's called negative visualization, not to depress you, but to prepare you. Because when you rehearse endings, you learn to savor the present. Rule 3. Negative visualization without anxiety. Have you ever dreaded losing someone or something so much that the fear itself stole the joy of having them? That's the paradox of attachment. We grip so tightly to what we love that we forget to live it. The Stoics offered a radical remedy: rehearse loss, not to become gloomy, but to become free. Marcus Aurelius advised, do not disturb yourself by imagining the whole of your life's troubles at once. As each arises, meet it with calmness and self-control. This practice is called negative visualization. At first it sounds dark. Why would I imagine losing my friend, my partner, or my health? But the purpose is not to suffer twice. It's to reduce the shock when change inevitably comes and to sharpen your gratitude for the present. Years ago, my closest friend told me they might move overseas. Panic gripped me. What will I do without them? Who will I talk to every night? The thought felt unbearable, but instead of resisting, I tried the Stoic way. Each morning I pictured my days without them, walking alone, reading more, calling other friends, building new routines. It hurt, but it trained my mind. And when the move finally came, the pain was real, but not paralyzing. I could breathe because I had already rehearsed the storm. Why does this work? Modern psychology calls it exposure therapy. By facing discomfort in small doses, you reduce its power over you. Research shows that people who rehearse setbacks recover emotionally almost 30% faster. Seneca captured it centuries ago. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. By picturing the challenge, you shrink its sting. Loss stops being a monster in the shadows. It becomes a visitor you've already met. So here's a 3-minute weekly protocol you can practice. First minute, picture the loss. Imagine the relationship ending, the job gone, the friend moving away. Let the sting rise. Second minute, see continuity. Visualize your day continuing, making breakfast, going to work, meeting a new person, exercising. Life doesn't end. It reshapes. Third minute, name supports. List 3 people, skills, or activities that would sustain you. Then close with gratitude. Whisper, because it may end, I will value it now. This practice turns fear into fuel. Instead of clutching tighter, you hold more gently and with more joy. Here's a micro exercise for today. Pick one relationship you cherish. Write down, if this ended, I would still, and list 3 things you'd continue doing. Then write, because it hasn't ended, I will, and list 3 things you'll appreciate today. If you feel moved, send a short note of gratitude. Nothing elaborate, just I value you. Thank you for being in my life. Do this once a week for 4 weeks. Track your emotional surge before and after on a scale of 1 to 5. You'll likely notice at least a 1-point drop by week 2. More importantly, you'll start savoring ordinary moments. A friend's laugh, a walk in the park, even sitting quietly, because you know nothing is guaranteed. Studies on gratitude confirm this. People who combine awareness of loss with daily appreciation report up to 25% higher life satisfaction. Negative visualization is not pessimism. It's gratitude sharpened by perspective. And when others worry you're being morbid, you can answer calmly, am not being gloomy, am being prepared. By imagining endings, I value the present more. That line honors Stoic wisdom and gently teaches what resilience really means. So here's your on-screen takeaway. Rehearse endings, strengthen presence. Your challenge this week: take 3 minutes to visualize one ending. Picture the loss, see life continue close with gratitude. Then write down one insight in your journal. When my friend finally moved overseas, I realized something crucial: I wasn't broken. I was grateful for every memory we shared and for the strength I'd built by practicing ahead of time. That's the gift of negative visualization. And now you're ready for the next Stoic discipline: control the controllables. Because while you can stop change, you can govern your breath, your choices, and your standards. And that's where your true power lives. Rule 4, control the controllables. There's a reason Marcus Aurelius returned again and again to the same reminder. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And Epictetus echoed it. Some things are up to us, others are not. These two lines are the backbone of Stoicism, and nowhere are they more crucial than in relationships when our peace is tied to someone else's actions, affections, or approval. Think about a time when you bent over backward to keep someone close. You texted first, apologized, first made the plans carried the weight, and yet nothing shifted. The more you chased, the more anxious you felt. Why? Because your mood was leased to something you couldn't control their response. That's not love. That's dependency. I've been there. I remember a season when every day felt like a referendum on whether this person valued me. If they were warm, I felt worthy. If they were distant, I felt invisible. My emotional life was hostage to their weather. The Stoic shift began when I finally listed what was in my control and what was not. Here's the exercise. Draw two columns. On the left, write what is in your control: your breath, your posture, your tone, your boundaries, your response time, your goals, your inputs. On the right, write what is not in your control: their feelings, their timing, their interpretations, their outcomes. Then repeat this line: what is mine is small, but it is enough. Control also means drawing boundaries. Here are two scripts you can carry in your pocket: am available for mutual effort, am not available for one-sided investment. I'll step back here. If alignment returns, am open to reconnecting. These are not ultimatums. They are affirmations of dignity. As Marcus put it, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Boundaries are simply wisdom applied to relationships. But Stoicism is not only defense, it's also building. You don't just cut ties to outcomes, you anchor to inputs. Choose 3 weekly actions that strengthen your citadel. For me, it was 10 outreach calls, 4 workouts, and 5,000 words written. That's it. 3 controllables. I tracked them on a whiteboard. And something incredible happened. Even when relationships felt volatile, my mood stabilized. Because progress was measured by what I did, not by what someone else gave. Psychologists back this up. Research shows that when people focus on controllable behaviors rather than uncontrollable outcomes, stress drops by nearly 40%. This is how Stoics measured success, not by applause or reciprocity, but by whether they acted with virtue today. Let me tell you a story. A few years back, I was in a relationship where I felt like a gardener watering dead soil. No matter how much attention I poured in, nothing grew. Every unanswered text, every cold shoulder twisted my gut. One night after reading Marcus, I asked myself, what is mine to control here? The answer: my effort, my clarity, my dignity. Not their warmth, not their choice. So I set the boundary: I care about this, but I can't carry it alone. If this isn't mutual ill, step back. They didn't chase. That hurt, but it freed me. Because for the first time, I wasn't abandoning myself. Here's your practice for today. Take 5 minutes. Draw a line down a page. On the left, list everything gnawing at you in a relationship. On the right, divide them into in control and not in control. Circle the items that are truly yours. Then pick one concrete input you'll do today. For example, instead of spiraling over why they haven't replied, circle my tone. Input: send one thoughtful message calmly, or choose silence. For the next 2 weeks, track inputs, not outcomes. Did you hit 80% of your 3 weekly controllables? If yes, that's success, regardless of how anyone else acted. Notice your baseline mood after 14 days: steadier, calmer, less swayed. That's sovereignty in practice. Here's your on-screen takeaway. Own your inputs. Release their outcomes. This week, write your control list and pick 3 weekly inputs. Comment them below to lock them in. And hold close Marcus's reminder: what stands in the way becomes the way. When you stop demanding control over what was never yours, obstacles shrink. You reclaim your strength. And with strength comes clarity, clarity to zoom out and see the bigger picture. That's where we're headed next. Rule 5. Because sometimes the best way to heal is to remember how vast life truly is. Rule 5. Zoom out to the bigger picture. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Time is like a river, a violent torrent. All that is swept away is quickly carried off, and another takes its place and will be carried away too." When we're hurting, when a relationship ends or someone pulls away, it can feel as though the entire sky has collapsed. The mind whispers, "This is forever. This is who I am now." But Marcus reminds us time is a river, Nothing, no joy, no heartbreak, no person remains fixed. To detach with dignity, we must zoom out and see the vast picture that grief hides. Think about the last time you lost someone important through breakup, betrayal, or distance. In those first days, the pain feels endless. You can imagine a tomorrow that doesn't ache. That tunnel vision convinces you that one chapter defines the whole book of your life. I remember lying awake after a painful split, convinced that my best days were behind me. Every song, every street corner, every empty chair echoed their absence. But months later, I laughed again. New friendships formed. Work deepened. The world turned. What felt like the end of everything was just a paragraph in a much longer story. The Stoic move is this zoom out. Life is not one scene. Life is the whole play. Here's a tool Marcus himself would approve: the 5-year test. When emotions surge, ask, will this matter in 5 years? And how right now your heartbreak feels like a mountain. But zoomed out, it's often just a pebble on a longer journey. Think back 5 years ago. What storm were you drowning in? Is it still flooding your life today? Most likely not. You adapted. You carried scars, but also strength. And that perspective shows you something vital: the storm is temporary. You are permanent. Another way to zoom out is to remember your many roles. Marcus saw himself as emperor, soldier, father, philosopher, and citizen. He reminded himself, a man who has done good should not demand thanks, but be like the vine that bears grapes and ask nothing more. So ask yourself, what roles need me this week? Maybe you are a parent, a sibling, a worker, a friend, a neighbor. When one relationship contracts, another role expands. Life is not a single bond, it is a web. And one of the fastest ways to zoom out of your own pain is service. Do something small for someone else today. Send an encouraging text. Hold the door. Share a meal. Why does this work? Because service punctures self-absorption. It reminds you that the world is larger than your wound. In my own darkest days, I volunteered at a shelter once a week. At first, it felt forced, but over time, I realized something profound: helping others restored my scale. My heartbreak shrank. My usefulness grew. And I felt alive again, not because the pain vanished, but because I remembered I was more than my pain. At night, Marcus wrote his meditations, short reflections, just for himself. You can do the same. Before bed, ask 3 questions. What virtue did I live today? Where did I miss it? What correction will I try tomorrow? This simple ritual zooms you out from the chaos of one day to the long arc of your life. It reminds you that today's pain is part of tomorrow's progress. A friend once told me, when my marriage ended, I thought I was ruined. But then I realized this is one of 30,000 days I might live. Do I want to surrender them all to this? That question broke the spell. She zoomed out. Today she is remarried, fulfilled, and grateful. That heartbreak, once her entire identity, is now a single thread in a much larger tapestry. So here's your practical drill for today. Do the 5-year test. Write down your current pain, then imagine how it might look 5 years from now. Do a role audit. List 5 roles you hold this week. Commit 1 action for each. And do 1 act of service today, however small. When emotions surge, repeat this mantra: not my story to control, my mind to govern, my virtue to practice. This is how you zoom out, not by erasing your feelings, but by placing them in their rightful scale. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. If today's lesson helped you zoom out and reclaim perspective, carry it forward. Detach with dignity, love without chains, keep walking with steadiness. Here's your call to action. Comment 1 boundary sentence you'll practice this week. You'll pin the best responses so others can learn from your wisdom. And if you want more Stoic lessons, more tools to rebuild your inner citadel, subscribe now to Making Life Better. Share this video with someone who's still gripping too tightly, someone who needs the reminder that endings don't erase us. Zoom out, see the bigger picture, and keep your mind steady as the river flows on. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. If today's journey helped you see that your peace is yours to protect, then carry this strength forward. And if you want more Stoic lessons, more tools to rebuild your inner citadel, subscribe now to Making Life Better. Hit the bell so you never miss the next guide, and share this video with someone who's still gripping too tightly, someone who needs the reminder that love does not mean clinging. Comment below with one boundary sentence you'll practice this week. We'll pin the best responses so others can learn from your wisdom. Detach with dignity, love without chains, and keep walking with steadiness.